All right, let's get to the details now. Tomorrow is a day that many Ghanaians are, and in fact, so-called development partners all across the globe are looking forward to. The NPP, through its Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, will speak to the nation on the specific strategies and plans through which they intend to deliver on their promises to Ghanaians. The NPP's manifesto captures their promises under about 18 broad areas, starting from the economy, power, agriculture, education, health, social development, security, and the list goes on through to chieftaincy. Well, in Parliament last week, President Akufo-Addo was clear that all the details missing in his address will be found in the budget. Many are looking out for details on provisions made for the various sectors. And you can trust that the NDC, the opposition NDC, will be loud on their expectations. Former Deputy Power Minister John Jinapor has already thrown a challenge to the NPP on their promise to review and remove taxes and levies, especially in the energy sector. Hear him on this.
The only challenge we are having is that I foresee this administration cutting down on statutory payments. You know, that will be creating artificial money. When you say creating artificial money, what it simply means is that Get Fund is supposed to have 1 billion. You don't give them 1 billion, so you keep 400 million, give them 600 million, so you have some 400 million with government centralized to spend. It is not additional money that has come in. It still works up to the same amount of money. Or what do you call it, common fund, you reduce it to 5% instead of 7.5%, then you keep the 2.5%. It is not additional money. But we know that on the ground, Ghanaians had a reason for instituting these policies, because the district assemblies are starving of resources. And that is where the action is. The local government system is where you can drive change. To the extent that we're promised that because they don't have adequate resources, they needed to be sent 1 more million per any constituency that you have. So to take that money away from them and give it back in another form of $1 million will not be the promise that we had. The promise that we had is that in addition to the 7.5%...
I think that the NPP promised us that when they come to power, we wouldn't have load shed. They were categorical about that. They also promised us that when they come, they will scrap the energy sector levy and also scrap VAT on electricity. Tomorrow next, I'm told the Minister of Finance will be presenting the budget. If the Minister of Finance redeems the promise of the NPP by scrapping VAT and also scrapping the energy sector levy, I promise you I shall walk from here on my foot to the Flagstaff House to congratulate President Akufo-Addo. Let them redeem their promises.
You don't see that happening.
Honor their
you
promises.
Don't see that happening.
I've thrown a challenge. Let them redeem that promise, and I shall walk here from Parliament barefooted to the Flagstaff House to congratulate President Akufo-Addo. If they scrap VAT on electricity sales and if they scrap the 10% energy sector levy, I promise you, and I shall live to that.
Well, that was John Jinapor there. He said that yesterday. Today, we'll bring you some more expectations from Parliament. But first, let's hear from both. We'll be hearing from both experts and random people on the street. And we're going to start with people on the street who are looking forward to hearing about plans to deal with unemployment, free senior high school education, and, of course, reduction of taxes.
Expectations are very high. In fact, previously, everybody was complaining about the financial position of the country and everything, and a new government has been put in place. So I think Ghanaians are expecting a lot from this government.
Well, once I heard President Nana Addo talk about the implementation of the free SHS, I became very happy because it's one of the reasons why I personally voted for him, and I think that I'll be expecting the budget reading to include that particular topic, which is how to be able to manage and also finance the free SHS. So that is what actually I'll be looking out for, how it to be rolled into the system and everything. So that's my expectation.
I'm expecting a lot from the finance minister, particularly on the employment issue. If there's going to be a budget for those who haven't gotten employment, and then assigning a particular budget that they will create something for them.
They said they were going to take care of some parts of the taxes that
employees, business owners' pay. So I want to see that that thing has been taken care of, because when the it goes down, when the taxes go down, more people are willing to pay. But when it's so high, you see people shying away from paying. So what I want to see is that that has been taken care of, and also this free SHS thing. I want to see that there has been something. Recently, I heard that they said they are going to touch the Heritage Fund. For me, I don't know if that is okay or not, but I want to know that something has been put in aside for that, and it's not going to be a mere talk, but it will happen for real.
My expectations for reading this budget is to know how the free SHS is going to be financed, and then where the funds are going to come from. And also, we want to know in the near future coming, we want to know how and how much we will spend within this year. Yeah.
My expectation will be there were a lot of promises that they made during their campaign. And as campaign is over and we've elected him into office, Ghanaians are expecting him to make our life better. So the budget, what we are expecting, the things that he promised, that he will improve the living conditions of Ghanaians. There was so much hardship. And then when we talk about the economy, the dollar too is getting out of hand. And he did promise about the petroleum levy. So we are expecting him to do something about it, because the fuel prices have gone high, and then it's affecting everything. So we hope Nana, as he promised, he'll put smile on the average Ghanaian.
All right, so those are the expectations as you heard them. Free SHS, they're looking at what the government is going to do, how much money they're going to allocate to creation of jobs. The government has been clear, of course, the NPP had been clear that they're going to reduce taxes for industry. Kojo Oponkrumah is Member of Parliament for Foasia Yorubi, also a member of the Finance Committee in Parliament. He joins me on the telephone line now. Hello, Kojo, thank you very much for your time. I must call you Honorable, just remembered. Thank you very much for your time here on The Pulse.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you. Now, I don't know if you heard some of the expectations that people are raising, but even if you didn't hear this, I know that you know, because you've been following the discussions that's going on. Which area, which sector will be receiving the most of attention, and which one gets the relatively least of attention? Which one would you say?
Well, I want to exactly nail down which sector will be receiving the most attention, but I would essentially say this. The budget that the finance minister is going to read tomorrow will do a number of things. It will start off by helping us to correct the current fiscal and macro challenges that we have. You do know that a budget is built starting off on the fiscal or the macro, and we have had huge challenges with the fiscal and macro, even worse than we had anticipated.
Okay.
A budget to a debt to GDP ratio in terms of our deficit, that is more than 70%. Deficit that has gone above 9%. Total tax revenue that is totally gone. Between earmarked funds, wages, and salaries is all gone. You don't even have any fiscal space to do anything. So the first thing he's going to do is to correct the challenges that we have with the fiscal. And then he's now going to move into the financial and economic policies, some of which were promised in our manifestos. We promised a lot of tax cuts. We promised a lot of investment in social projects. Free SHS has been mentioned. One district, one factory has been mentioned. One village, one dam has been mentioned as well. You will begin to find that after correcting the macro, he will now move into some of these areas and allocate a lot of money for investment in some of these areas. He will also be seeking to restructure the fiscal. Like I mentioned earlier, our fiscal has been very terrible. Almost, 100% of tax revenue is gone. government doesn't literally have access to it. How do you structure that to ensure that as we go along, governments or successive governments will find fiscal space to use to make investments in the programs and projects that we talk about? So he will start off by dealing with the challenges that we have, and then he will move on to allocate money to some of these very bold initiatives that we have promised.
And one of the areas, one of your promises, which is about tax cuts, it's something that lots of people have discussed. Now, the minority is throwing a challenge to you that you should be explicit on how you're cutting those taxes and making up for it, so to speak. What should we expect as far as that is concerned?
I can assure you that tomorrow he will announce a number of tax cuts. And then the necessary revenue legislation that will bring those tax cuts to life will be brought to Parliament for Parliament to approve, because, you know, taxes are levied by Parliament. The rates are levied by Parliament. So even when he announces it tomorrow, the needed amendments will later be brought to Parliament for it to happen. But the MPP has been very clear throughout our days in opposition and on the campaign trail that we consider some taxes as nuisance taxes. We consider some taxes as taxes that actually inhibit the private sector from doing business, and we want to remove them. Tomorrow, the president, true to his word, will have those taxes that are going to be removed announced by the finance minister, and subsequently we'll move to the legislative stage of removing those taxes. You can rest assured that will happen.
Rest assured. Well, two quick ones, and then I'll let you go, Honorable. Let's look at how long it's going to take. Do we have an idea, the duration?
I don't want to have that a guess in terms of the duration. It is a general policy of this government to be light on form and heavy on substance.
Because I'm asking because of the details that we expect.
It is not going to be a short delivery. No, it's not going to be a short delivery. Neither is it going to be a long, laborious one. But you will get as much financial detail as is required. For example, when it gets to some of the policy areas, he would announce these policies and talk about the amount of money that has been allocated to these policies. But obviously, nobody expects that he will spend the budget reading tomorrow outlining the full extent of the policy. So, for example, when he talks of free SHS, he will tell you how much we're allocating to free SHS, who is covered, when it starts. He's probably not going to give the whole policy detail for each of these many policies he would announce tomorrow.
Okay, and finally, there's been an issue about heckling in Parliament. I mean, we've come to accept it as a norm in Parliament that the opposition would usually heckle. Of course, those in the majority will cheer the people on. We know that Ken Ofori-Atta it looks like a laid-back gentleman, sort of. Is that why they brought up this issue about not heckling and not raising placards, etc.? How do you expect that will pan out tomorrow in Parliament?
Well, change has come. We're all trying to improve our democracy. I am hopeful that in this new light of where we are going as a nation, we'll tone down the heckling. It's of good note to be informed that generally we're trying to tone down on heckling inside the chamber. I just hope that we'll live true to that word, and we would allow the policy announcements to be made with as little heckling, so that we can all, focus on the substance of what is being outlined to us. I hope we'll live up to it.
We'll live up to it. And how is Ofuasi Ayrebi, by the way?
We're fine. I just got back this afternoon. That's why I couldn't join you in the studios, but we're fine.
Okay, we're fine. We'll see how you are implementing, at the local level, how you yourself are implementing your local budget and how that will address the needs of the people of Ofuasi Ayrebi. Thank you very much. Kojo Pong Nkrumah is Member of Parliament for Ofuasi Ayrebi. Well, let's get back to Parliament and hear what some of the members of Parliament expect from tomorrow's budget.
The challenge we are having is that I foresee this administration cutting down on statutory payments. That will be creating artificial money. When you say creating artificial money, what it simply means is that Get Fund is supposed to have 1 billion. You don't give them 1 billion, so you keep 400 million, give them 600 million, so you have some 400 million with government centralized to spend. It is not additional money that has come in. It still works up to the same amount of money. Or what do you call it, common fund, you reduce it to 5% instead of 7.5%, then you keep the 2.5%. It is not additional money. But we know that on the ground, Ghanaians had a reason for instituting these policies. because the district assemblies are starving of resources. And that is where the action is. The local government system is where you can drive change. To the extent that we're promised that because they don't have adequate resources, they needed to be sent $1 more million per any constituency that you have. So to take that money away from them and give it back in another form of $1 million will not be the promise that we had. The promise that we had is that in addition to the 7.5%, because they are under-resourced, if you have one constituency in the district, you'll get $1 million. If you have two constituencies, you get $2 million. So Bolga Central or Bolga Municipality, we're expecting $2 million. That is a lot of money, and that will change a lot of things, in addition to the 7.5%. So we don't want this engineering that doesn't add to the value or that doesn't add additional revenue, but that merely twist around and move figures in order to give the central government a lot of money to spend when the actual institutions mandated to spend the money don't have it. Because we have come a long way by making sure that central government doesn't control expenditures. We have come a way of evolving to the extent that we expect the local actors to have the resources and to deliver development at the constituencies and at the districts. And so when we have a budget that tries to create excuses in order to...
In my candid opinion, I expect that the budget is going to be the budget of hope for all Ghanaians, in the sense that the manifesto that our party presented in 2016, that the people bought into by giving us their mandate, is clearly going to feature in the budget that is going to be presented. And for sure, it's going to create a lot of opportunities for every Ghanaian. The mass unemployed youth who have completed various institutions and hitherto added the lack of job for the previous administration are idling around, will now have the hope that within a shorter possible time, they'll all be absorbed in various sectors of our economy. And I think it's going to give a lot of hope for the youth and particularly the business community, because the budget too has a component that will boost the private sector. And our government is going to encourage private partnership.
I think that the MPP promised us that when they come to power, we wouldn't have load shed. They were categorical about that. They also promised us that when they come, they will scrap the energy sector levy and also scrap VAT on electricity. Tomorrow next, I'm told the Minister of Finance will be presenting the budget. If the Minister of Finance redeems the promise of the MPP by scrapping VAT and also scrapping the energy sector levy, I promise you I shall walk from here on my foot to the Flagstaff House to congratulate President Akufo-Addo. Let them redeem their promises.
You don't see that happening. You don't see that happening.
I've thrown a challenge. Let them redeem that promise, and I shall walk here from Parliament, barefooted, to the Flagstaff House to congratulate President Akufo-Addo. If they scrap VAT on electricity sales, and if they scrap the 10% energy sector levy, I promise you, and I shall live to that.
Well, so those are expectations from members of parliament. We'll see how that pans out. I'm going to be having a conversation here in the studio, but let's quickly go over the telephone lines and speak with Ben Yeboah. Ben Yeboah speaks for GUTA, Ghana Union of Traders Association. Hello, sir. Thank you very much for your time here on the Pulse.
Thank you very much, too.
Okay, so tomorrow is expected to be a big day for a lot of Ghanaians who are expecting to get some details of how the NPP wants to deliver on the promises. Some have called them mouth-watering promises to us. What are traders expecting? What must be said in the budget as far as your sector is concerned? By all means, what are your expectations?
Well, thank you very much, and good afternoon to you, your viewers and listeners. Well, judging from what the President, His Excellency, told us on the State of the Nation address, we knew we owed, but then he also opened another chapter as to the deficits that we have. So looking at that from that background, yes, we have our expectations, but we are not going to put all in one basket, let's say this budget. Okay. But definitely there are specific one or two things that we expect that the Finance Minister will bring out when the budget comes out tomorrow.
And I mean, among your members, what's the conversation that's going on as far as their expectations, are concerned?
Okay, there is this ranging problem with this VAT flat rate.
VAT flat rate?
Yeah, the flat VAT rate.
Okay.
The 3%, if you quite remember.
Okay.
Now, we were having that, it was taken off by the finance ministry through GRA, and we argued that, look, the problems that were preceding before the 3% was brought in are still prevalent, and therefore we felt that it should be brought back. And therefore, with this new budget coming in, we expect that the finance minister will address it by reintroducing the 3% flat VAT rate. Interestingly, this VAT flat rate is, it inures to the benefit of government more because it makes more money for them in a sense that, you see, more people pay. The net is spread. A lot of people comply, and therefore, government makes more money. With the standard rate now, the threshold was raised, and therefore, fewer people are in the basket, putting undue pressure on those within the basket now. And therefore, we advocating for the 3% flat VAT rate. It actually inures to the benefit of government because then compliance goes higher. People are willingly paying. Computation is easier. So that is one thing we are expecting. Secondly, we are looking at this special levy, import levy. If you remember, we've been complaining of these levies since 2013. It was introduced around 2011, 2012, where the finance ministry told them that government needed revenue, and that when the sunset, it will be taken off. Unfortunately, every year it sees itself in the budget, and they increased it to 3%. It was formerly 2%. We feel that should be removed because cumulatively, importers are paying well over 50% of CIF value, which is really quite high. And therefore, we feel importers should be given some respite. And this time round, we feel that 3% special VAT special import levy should be moved to give importers some sort of relief. So that is one other thing we are looking at. Thirdly, and this is just something that we've been discussing, and we are hoping the government will look at it through the budget. What they are going to do for industries, our manufacturing base, because we know this government is talking about one district, one factory. One factory, yes. Yes, definitely. We know that with this, they are looking at job creation. And we in the trading fraternity, it's not just that we like importing into the country. No, it's because the environment is not conducive for really going into the industrial sector. And therefore, we would wish that something is put down concretely to how they are going to factor out that one district, one factory, so that it's in terms of tariffs, reduction on tariffs on these utilities for such industries, looking at ways of moving some duties on imported raw materials. I mean, something that will lure people into that industry, so that together we all move. Because if that happens, it will invariably affect our our currency. We realize that our currency is not doing quite well now. Right. You realize that, and it's a problem. Okay. And therefore, we will also be looking at what the finance minister will be telling us in that direction as to what policies they will be putting up to mitigate that continuous fall of the city. Okay. So at least these are certain things we'll be looking at.
These are the things. These are the things that if you don't hear anything about, you'd be very disappointed.
Oh, well, just like I said, the flat VAT rate rather inures to the benefit of government. If they look at it well, it's going to give them more money. And I don't.
Well, why are you advocating for government? You should be advocating for your members.
We were telling them that that was the whole idea, so that you reduce the threshold, spread the tax net, so that computation is easier. People do not have to,
So in both ways, it benefits both traders and government as well. Yes. So that you get to pay less, and then government gets to rope a lot more people into the tax net.
That's right. Then it's a win-win situation here we are talking about. Okay. So that one, I know it will definitely see itself in the budget. And then the 3%, we know that, look, we are suffering, and definitely there should be something to help us. We were told as far as back as 2013 that it was just for when the sun. Unfortunately, the sun has never set since 2013. And we think it's time the sun should set. So we get at least some relief by having that 3% special import levy taken off. Look, there are other taxes which are being charged at the post. And invariably, all these taxes, in a way, is making revenue for government. So we don't see why we should just be suffering. At least we should have some leeway or some respite. And I don't think we are asking for too much.
Okay. Well, hopefully you're not asking for too much, and hopefully you get to hear of your expectations from Ken Ofori-Atta's first budget that will be presented tomorrow. Thank you very much.
I hope we get to talk after he presents it.
Most definitely.
So we'll see whether our expectations were met.
Most definitely. We will get back to you. Thank you very much. Mr. Ben Yeboah. Ben Yeboah is with the Ghana Union of Traders Association. Their expectations have to do with the 3% VAT flat rate. They think that the problems that it was meant to deal with are still prevalent, and they think that it has to be reintroduced. The special import levy, 3%, they're talking about, they think that it should be removed, and they think that they want to know concretely exactly what government wants to do with manufacturing, because that is also, they're quite heavy on that as a promise. Well, in the studio with me is George Rafe. George Rafe is editor here on our business desk. He joins me in the studio. Good to see you, George.
Hi, Gifty. How are you doing?
I'm not bad at all. Thankfully, it's not your birthday today, so I don't get to see any bow tie. But also in the studio with me is Emmanuel Zewu. Emmanuel Zewu is an economic analyst with the GN Group. Correct? Okay, good to have you as well.
Thank you, Gifty.
Okay, let's see what we can do with this tomorrow's budget and what our expectations are. People are looking at unemployment and how government will, how much money will be allocated to creating jobs. They're looking at how they're going to cut the taxes. And we spoke with Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah. Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah makes it clear that they're going to announce some tax cuts for sure. What we don't know is which of the taxes that are going to be cut. Of course, there's an issue about the energy levy, and I'll come back to you, George. But let me start with you, Mr. Zewu. You've done some research, you say. You can make some predictions into what your own expectations are. Let's just call it predictions, tomorrow's budget.
Okay. What we at GN Research can say is that no matter with the direction the budget will go, we can see for sure that the finance minister is not going to lose. Maybe he will not forget the fact that you have to manage our debt efficiently. Okay. He will not forget the point that he has to use this budget to win the investor confidence, because this is his first budget. So if it doesn't go down well with the people, you don't expect that the next budgets will be the people trust government to work in accordance to whatever they have given them. So we at GN Research, we are expecting that we will see some task reductions, especially in the energy sector. And
why the energy sector? Because it's obvious that we're still having problems with the energy
the fact sector. Is that if you look at the State of the Nation's address and the presentation of the campaign messages, you come to realize that the government is going to try to achieve their promises based on what the private sector does. Okay, so without power, you don't expect the private sector to take that lead role you expect of them. That is why they will focus more attention on the energy sector. So if you maybe look at the problems in the energy sector, you realize that cost of power is one of the biggest challenge in the sector. So government will try to resolve that issue first before looking at the other sectors of the economy.
So that's what from your perspective, that's what the prediction is.
Yeah, that's why government is interested.
Well, they will be heavy on dealing with how they want to deal with the debt, and they'll be looking to win investor confidence, basically, and then talking a lot more about the energy sector. George, have we got any clues, inside information?
Well, of course, we are picking up some information information, and these are draft proposals from people with knowledge of the budget. But you know, the economists will always want to say, all other things being equal, if all those variables stay constant, then it's likely that we will see those tax cuts being announced. The import levy should be abolished if finally they agree today that going forward to implement that. The 17.5% tax on financial services would also go away if the final proposal is accepted by the whole cabinet team and the financial team. But as I was saying, that this is what we've picked up. These were proposals going into the final day of rounding up the budget presentation or more preparation. We also understand that some taxes on some imported items when it comes to medicines would also go off. We have a tax on real estate. We understand that it's likely to be taken off as well. And also the taxes on the domestic airfares would also go off. So these are some of the tax measures that we might hear the finance minister tomorrow before Parliament announce as well. You know, there's also a problem about when it comes to the exemptions that are granted to companies. The government wants to cap it. So we understand that every year we lose about 2.5 billion Ghana cedis. It could be capped at 1 billion. So again, though that process will be reviewed so that the finance minister will be the final authority when it comes to granting of tax exemption. Because what we have right now is that we have Parliament, the presidency, and other critical agencies that also do this. So it looks like there might be some review that will only see the finance minister have that right to do that, because don't forget that then he would work within this whole issue about capping these tax exemptions, and these things could be some of the things. In terms of the capping as well, let's look at the expenditure side. One critical thing, some already are calling the budget quite a drastic, more of a radical budget, because as we speak right now...
Well, they've not seen the budget yet.
Well, based on information...
Or they've got radical expectations.
No, based on, you engage people who might be close or who might have knowledge in terms of the input or what will go into the budget. And based on that suggestions or engagement that you've had, it could be radical. Because as we speak right now, let's just say that if government on an annual basis is able to mobilize just maybe 10 billion Ghana cedis, now the constitution and laws are actually guide how those funds can be dispersed. So this is Assembly Common Fund, you're looking at MP's Common Fund, you're looking at education. It's a very rigid budget always, has always been that case. What we are also hearing that the finance minister is likely to propose some amendments that would free the space or give him some room in terms of discretionary spending, so that some of these funds can be moved to other sectors that are quite critical. Let's look at the free SHS. Now, we have the MP's Common Fund, where we also understand that it goes into education. So can we tap into that fund and move it to somewhere so that we can draw funding from that fund to support the free SHS? So these are some of the things that we are likely to hear the finance minister speak about when he goes before Parliament. That is, if all these proposals that have come in, he accepts them and goes into his final drafts.
It goes into its final draft. We'll be wrapping up this conversation very soon. But Mr. Zhao, back to you. What do you think, or what are your expectations of how this budget will be received by people, I mean, key industry players? What did your research find about what they're likely to do, how they're likely to accept or receive this budget, whichever way it will go?
Yeah, we are quite sure that the industry sector will receive this budget with a lot of applause, because yes, they're going to see a lot of incentives to expand their businesses. You see, when the talk was made about maybe reducing corporate tax from 25% to 20%, some argue that the tax reductions might reduce government revenue.
But that won't.
We are of the opinion that, you see, when you decrease taxes, it can actually boost investment, increase employment opportunities. More people will be employed anyway, and you pay more taxes.
But let's also look at the other side of it, because there are several scenarios that various, I mean, he's an economist. The modules that we know that in some economies,
yes, but so the question that has always come up is this an automatic process?
I believe that those who are advising government have done all the scenarios.
Okay, let him wrap up with the point that he wanted to make, then we can wrap up with you. Wrap up with the point that you're making.
My point is that if high taxes kill businesses, okay, so if today we hear that government is going to reduce taxes I'm sure the business community will be very happy. The simple fact is that the tax that you're supposed to be paying to the government, you can use it to expand your business.
Okay.
When you do that, you employ me, you employ another person.
Right.
We are supposed to pay income tax, right? At the end of the day, government revenue can go up.
Okay, so that's the analogy.
It's not a must that when you reduce taxes, your revenue is going to fall.
But you look at all the other antecedents and how they trickle in into that result. George, you don't totally agree.
I agree with him. I mean, speaking as an economist, 100%. But let's look at the other side. There are several modules that the economists have always put together when it comes to this, that in economies where taxes have been reduced, it has led to increase in payment. Because let's just even take your pay slip and go through. The amount that you actually set aside or you have to put aside to pay taxes. Most banks or companies that record losses or don't do well, look at their position pre-taxation. And you see that they did very well. Exactly. After moving a chunk of that money to pay taxes, then they come down. Okay. So obviously, if you know that in terms of the rates you're going to set aside to pay government is going to come down, that will be good news for you. We don't know whether that money, that savings will be plowed back into the business or be expanded or even released to your staffs and all those things. But in several developing economies like Ghana, it's shown that sometimes when there is a reduction, it leads to people then willing to pay. Because you know that, after all, that wouldn't be that heavy item on your finance, on your expenses as a company. So if previous research and even previous instances have shown that when there is a reduction in tax, then it leads to companies saying that, oh, I have a lot of money, I want to plow back that money into the business and expand. When you expand, obviously you need people to fill those expansions.
So you employ more people.
You're going to employ. If I make more profit, apart from companies that are listed, a fraction will go into dividend payments, shareholders. The rest will go into paying the staff and looking at new areas. So it looks like that module has worked in other economies. And it looks like government wants to go this way. And if investors, again, this budget is a make or break for government. Because don't forget about the city. And engaging offshore investors, they are looking at some of the policy measures the government will institute so that they could bring back their money. So the Ghana city, which is falling like a stone thrown from heaven, might stabilize a little bit.
Like a stone thrown from heaven. Seriously, George, Ken Ofori-Atta won't be happy with you on that. But let's wrap up with what else your research found, or what else you've got to share with us from the research that you've done at the GN Group.
Yeah, I think we are also likely to see pronouncements on how to expand the tax base or the tax net, not necessarily increasing taxes.
Issue about compliance, and that is going to come up. The GR is going to come up with some measures.
Exactly. Another thing that the decrease in tax is going to do is that mostly when we talk about corruption in GRA, sometimes if you know that I'm going to pay heavy amount, when you come, I'll tell you, oh, let me give you something.
But I think
something small. Then you pocket the rest. But if I know what I'm going to give to the GRA staff is very minimal, I don't care giving
compared to what you would pay in bribe.
And give you some little advice for those who are excited.
Don't worry. He's very itchy and he tends to jump into your point. But wrap up. I'd like for you to wrap up so that we can bring him in and then we end the conversation. Yeah. So yes, about your expectation again in your research.
Tomorrow we are going to have, I think, a very exciting day for the business community.
Okay. And you as a business organization are looking forward to all of these.
Yes.
Will you be disappointed, or will you just take it in good faith
from
if
what,
the things you're talking about?
From what we have seen so far.
Oh, he has also seen it.
Exactly. So exactly what have you seen? Because that's what we're trying to
Let's wait for tomorrow.
No, we don't like to wait. Tell us what you're seeing.
No, it's the tax cut.
Come on, be fair to the people of Ghana.
Could you say the tax cut will happen?
He said the tax cut will happen, but he didn't give us any details. If you've got details, put it out there.
We told you financial services is going to go. Import levy is going to go.
Even the corporate tax. I told you about the corporate tax.
The tax on domestic effects, the VAT is going to go.
So those of us who pay taxes are going to continue paying taxes.
We are likely to even see a reduction, something on the capital gain tax.
Yeah.
And I'm also telling you,
no. What's that about again? Capital
gain tax.
What's that again?
Basically, you're looking at. Okay, sorry.
Okay, you can.
You better take your time.
Is that if you make an investment on the stock exchange and you make some gains, they impose tax on it.
They impose tax on it.
That is a discouraged investment.
I see.
Because why should you tax again what I'm earning? We have a very developing market, and you want to encourage people to come on.
Okay, so you don't do that.
Apart from all the taxes that I'll pay, why do you also want to tax gains I'll make on the investment.
On my profit. Doesn't make any sense to me.
Gifty, don't be
so are we looking at a scrap of some of this?
For now, no, he is saying that I have no idea. But I'm saying that Gifty, don't be too excited.
Does your research say that that particular tax will be scrapped?
No, but we are expecting something.
You're expecting something like that. Okay,
that
George, let's wrap up.
Gifty, don't be too excited because
I'm not.
If the
I'll be
taxes
excited if I'm going to pay less taxes that I'm
might
paying
go
now.
down. But what it means is that GRA is going to press on compliance.
Okay.
So you shouldn't be surprised when they come into your bump into your company, they're reviewing your books and all those things.
Right.
They'll be tough on compliance.
Okay.
Houses that are in East Legon and are not paying property tax, they will come at you.
I see.
So whilst you're giving you all those breaks, they're going to be hard and ensure that nobody invades tax.
Okay.
If you bring goods at the port, you are going to pay for them.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm hoping that those of us who pay on our salaries will have some reduction there as well.
Let's see what happens. I mean,
is that a possibility?
For people who earn below a certain bracket.
But you should be happy that maybe by the end of the year, your income will increase.
Yeah.
My income will increase.
And that has to do with stabilizing the economy. Because if inflation is not so high, it means that.
So don't be worried about what you pay to government. Be worried,
okay.
Be concerned about your
Well, you do know that it looks as if the economic guys like to talk a lot, don't they? Maybe tomorrow we will see whether Ken Ofori-Atta talks a lot as well, or even in his laid-back nature, or that he doesn't talk so much. We'll see how that goes. But I've been here in the studio with George Raffey. George Raffey is editor here on our business desk. George, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, Gifty.
And he's got some deep throat sources, trust me. Also in the studio has been Emmanuel Kwesi-Zeu, who is an economic analyst with a GN Research, and they have been doing some research trying to predict what the budget will come with. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for passing through.
Thank you, Gifty.
As to watching the show, this is The Pulse. My name is Gifty Andwapia.